second episode starts off with Elizabeth Nikos waking up in a hospital room. She unhooks herself from the machine she was attached to and attempts to get out of bed, only to briefly lose her balance before catching herself on the bed frame.
Easy now, Toots. You took quite the hit.
Standing at the door to her hospital room was none other than Hammerhead.
I apologize for my men firing that rocket to the building whilst you were in there. I hope this doesn't cause any bad blood between us.
Did you get him at least?
No. He managed to slip through our fingers again. Thanks to the footage from the club, however, we got a better look at him. I also saw you two talking together.
Hammerhead gets closer to Elizabeth, making direct eye contact.
You have history, don't you?
Yeah, but it won't affect my work. I've been wanting to kill him for a long time.
If you want to stay involved in this operation, then I need you to stop hiding these little secrets. I also want to know everything you know about him. I want to know his name, his allergies, his goddamn childhood sweetheart, anything at all, but mainly why he's targeting us.
His name is Michael. Dr. Michael Morbius.
Oh, so he's a doctor? I got a rash on my elbow. Can he write a prescription?
You wanted me to tell you what I know, so shut up and listen. Michael had this disease. He spent his whole life trying to cure it. Then one day he did. The cure turned him into a freak, and that's when he killed my brother. The man who stood by him through everything. That's why if anyone is going to kill him, it's going to be me. I don't care about your money. I just want to see him die.
Good to know. Thankfully, Blackout's been tracking him. As soon as I give the word, we'll ambush the freak.
Hammerhead walked towards a nearby window and stared at the streets below as the scene transitions to Morbius in an old church sitting on an old bench, looking at old photos of what he used to look like along with people he considered to be his family.
I've never been one for religion, but I hope that this prayer finds you well. Liz has gotten involved with some bad people, the very same ones who I've been targeting. I promise I will do my best to make sure that she's safe. And Emil, I'm sorry. I never wanted things to end the way they did. As if on cue, Morbius' ears began focusing on a specific sound surrounded by the sounds of traffic, thousands of heartbeats, and a sinister laugh getting closer and closer by the second until a strange figure burst through one of the stained glass windows of the church. Found you! Morbius instantly raises his guard before making eye contact with Blackout. You are a hard man to find, Mr. Morbius. Or do you prefer Dr. Morbius? Who the hell are you? I honestly thought you'd be harder to find. What? Did you really not realize that I've been following you since last night? I would have attacked you sooner, but orders are orders. But then I thought, nah. I said who? One wrong move, and I'll kill your girlfriend before she even gets out of the hospital. Morbius slowly calms down, much to his own displeasure. Much better. Take a seat. I'd like to get to know you better before I cut your head off. The two sit down on nearby chairs without breaking eye contact with one another. Now, where are my manners? I am so sorry. You may call me Blackout. As you've probably guessed, we have a mutual acquaintance. By coincidence, Blackout's phone began to ring with the contact labeled as Hammerhead attempts to call him, only for it to go to voicemail.
Blackout, we're on our way. Make sure he doesn't get away.
Blackout then turns the phone off and carries on talking to Morbius. Now, you might be wondering, why me and your girlfriend are after you, right? Well, you see, the two of us have been hired to kill you because you're becoming quite the problem for our client. And the reason he chose us and not some junkies off the street is because we have experience with your kind. Vampires. Only, I've never seen one like you. You're different. You not only look different, but I can tell that you're not undead. I mean, for crying out loud. You're living in a church and haven't been burned to death. So tell me, how did some guy become this monstrosity I see before me? I'm not telling you anything. That is a shame. I mean, you really should consider yourself lucky because he could have easily hired someone much more dangerous like the Daywalker or even Crown. Unlike me, they would have killed you right off the bat. But enough talking about me. I'm assuming you know what happens, right?
We try and kill each other. Attaboy!
Almost instantaneously, the entire interior of the church was shrouded in its darkness, Morbius not being able to see anything but himself. Over here! Morbius turned to follow the voice, only to get a blade thrust into his abdomen. You can do better than that, can't you? Morbius would then be forced to take hit after hit, stab after stab, and cut after cut before falling to the ground in agony. What's the matter? Having trouble finding me?
Not at all.
He closed both of his eyes, focused his breathing, and let his nose and ears become his eyes. Blackout had then attempted to strike the vampire once again, but this time he would be in for a surprise when his prey grabbed his blade mid-swing before throwing a barrage of punches and kicking him onto the floor beneath them, the darkness disappearing as he lay on the ground, wounded.
I don't know how much he's paying you, but it's not worth it. No. Beat it. No!
Blackout grabbed a blade from underneath his jacket before leaping towards Morbius, who surprisingly had trouble avoiding the attacks.
Oh, come on! Where's that monster I've heard so much about? You want to see a monster? Fine! I'll give you a monster!
Morbius charged at Blackout and dug his claws into the bounty hunter's shoulders before flying around the room and slamming into the walls a countless amount of times.
It's people like you that are the true monsters.
Blackout lay on the ground beaten and bloody, knowing that this could be it. He used all his willpower for one last attack. The room went pitch black. Blackout held his blade in his hand tightly as he attempted to sneak up on Morbius. Unfortunately, his sneak attack would be countered when Morbius turned around and with no hesitation slashed at his face, destroying most of his teeth and almost tearing off his jaw as his blade hit the ground. With the last of his strength, Blackout threw himself towards Morbius, attempting to land a punch. Unfortunately, the vampire would catch both it and the other hand he tried striking him with.
Remember, you brought this on yourself.
With ease, Morbius crushed Blackout's hands to the point where his fingers had broken off and fell onto the floor. The bounty hunter then fell to the floor unconscious, blood pouring from multiple places. Morbius stared at his victim intently, watching the blood pour from his body as he used all his sanity to force himself not to feed. The living vampire let out a loud war cry as he jumped and flew through the remains of the stained glass window as Hammerhead and his men arrived at the scene. On a nearby rooftop, Morbius sat on the floor, his foot shaking with frustration, as he came to terms with the fact that all of his research was now gone, inevitable to be taken by the authorities. Then again, maybe it was for the better. If he couldn't find a cure, maybe someone in the likes of Reed Richards or Bruce Banner could? But now wasn't the time to be thinking about what-ifs or potential futures. Morbius knew he had to get as far away as he possibly could before he lost control again. He had to feed, and he had to feed now. We're then greeted by a scene of Morbius running throughout the city. However, the longer the scene plays, the more obvious it is that Morbius is beginning to have trouble seeing straight until one moment he closes his eyes midair and walks up in an alleyway covered in blood and standing over a few dead bodies as he sits down.
No, not again. Damn it!
Meanwhile, Hammerhead and Elizabeth were inside the church Morbius previously resided in.
Great. I'm a man down and we lost our best lead. Just great.
Maybe not. As much as I hated him, Blackout fought Michael longer than anyone else has. Seeing as he's alive, he can give us intel on him.
Did you not see the guy? How is he supposed to tell us anything in that state?
You got any other ideas?
Fine, get in the car. We're making a hospital visit.
On the way to the hospital, Hammerhead and Elizabeth began to discuss the situation.
So, what exactly is your plan?
We talked to Blackout, get as much info on Michael as we can. He went toe-to-toe with him, so if he has any abilities we're not aware of, he may be able to tell us.
This Doc is meant to be a vampire, right? So how the hell can he survive in the sun?
Remember, he's not a natural vampire. Chances are he doesn't have any of their weaknesses.
Everybody has a weakness. We just gotta find it. But mark my words, I'm gonna wrap my hands around that blood-sucking freak's neck. Then I'm gonna squeeze and squeeze and squeeze until I hear every single bone break. Then when I'm done, I'm gonna use a skull as an ashtray.
As time passed, the two arrived at an underground hospital and made their way to where Blackout was being treated.
He alive, Doc?
Yes, sir.
Wake him up.
With all due respect, he's not in a state to...
I said wake him up.
The doctor did as instructed and Blackout's eyes slowly opened, only for the vampire hunter to begin freaking out when he remembered what had happened to him.
Easy, freak. You're in one of the Magia's clinics. No medical records, no cops, nothing. Now, I got a pen here. I'm gonna go through the alphabet, and you're gonna tell me everything you can about that bloodsucker. Capiche?
The two went through the alphabet multiple times, only instead of giving information about Morbius, Blackout simply gave Hammerhead one word: crown.
Crown? Crown? What the hell is that supposed to mean?
I know what he's talking about. Although in this case, it's who? Loxias crown. He's one of the most dangerous vampire hunters of all time. Not just vampires, almost anything supernatural.
So what? He wants to give up his bounty and back out?
Using what little strength he had, Blackout forced himself upright and said whatever he could, physically without a working jaw.
Okay, Blondie. You knows where we can find this crown guy?
It'll be a while, but yeah, I can find him. I gotta warn you, he probably won't come cheap.
Whatever. Doc, give this man the best cybernetics you got. Mark my words, that freak is as good as dead.